Dr. Emily Harding strode through the corridors of Hope Animal Shelter with a determination that belied the heaviness in her heart. Today was the day she dreaded the most, Euthanasia Day. Despite the early hour, the buzz of the shelter couldn't mask the somber mood that seemed to hang in the air like a thick fog. As she approached her office, Emily mentally rehearsed the procedure, steeling herself for the tasks ahead. Inside her office, the list of today's duties lay on her desk, a stark reminder of the realities of her job. Emily paused, her hand hovering over the list, reluctant to make it real by acknowledging it. The harsh fluorescent lights seemed to cast a spotlight on the paper, highlighting the names of the two dogs, Sam and Max, who had been marked for euthanasia. Emily sighed deeply, a sound more felt than heard, and whispered to herself, "Is there really no other way?" Her voice was a mix of resignation and a faint hope, the latter a fragile flame that flickered in the darker corners of her professional resolve. The weight of her responsibilities pressed down on her, each animal's name a heavy stone in her heart. Today, more than ever, she wished there were another path she could take, one that didn't lead to this heartbreaking decision. As she prepared the syringes, her hands were steady, but her mind was turbulent with thoughts of Sam and Max. She knew their story by heart, their arrival at the shelter, the immediate bond they formed, and how, despite all efforts, their health had declined. It was the hardest part of her job, making these decisions, playing a role she wished she could forsake. Suddenly, a soft whimper from the kennel area pierced the usual murmur of the shelter. Emily's head snapped up, her focus shifting from the syringes to the source of the sound. Her heart tugged her towards the kennel, a part of her needing to see Sam and Max one last time before she had to do the unthinkable. Little did she know, as she made her way to their side, that she was about to witness something that would challenge everything she thought she knew about her job and herself. As Emily approached the kennel, she caught sight of Sam and Max nestled together in the corner. Their coats, though cleaner than when they had arrived, still bore the subtle marks of a life once spent in hardship on the streets of Ho Chi Minh City. The two dogs, one slightly larger than the other, lay intertwined, Sam's paw protectively draped over Max. In the shelter's dim light, their closeness seemed not just for warmth, but as a deep-seated need to feel each other's presence, a silent testament to their bond formed out of shared adversity. Emily paused at the door, her eyes tracing the gentle rise and fall of their chests. They seemed so peaceful, so content in each other's company, that for a moment the shelter's walls faded into the background, replaced by the noisy, chaotic streets where these two souls had once roamed. Lost, hungry, and vulnerable, they had been found snuggled in an alley, seeking refuge in each other from the bustling city around them. Their story was known to all at the shelter. One of the staff, a young volunteer named Lisa, often recounted how she first saw them. They were just tiny balls of fur, really, shivering and scared, but holding on to each other like their lives depended on it, she had told Emily once, her voice thick with emotion. The staff's voices, usually full of professional detachment, softened whenever they discussed Sam and Max, their usual clinical tones giving way to something warmer. "It's as if they knew they only had each other," Lisa continued, shaking her head slightly as she filled out their medical charts. "Every treatment, every test we did, they'd look for each other, whine until they were back side by side. It's heartbreaking." Heartbreaking, Emily mulled over the word as she watched the dogs. The connection between Sam and Max was palpable, a living thing that seemed to breathe and pulse with life. It was a bond forged not just by proximity, but by shared suffering and mutual consolation. In each other, they had found a sanctuary, a respite from the instability of their early lives. As she stood there, something within Emily shifted. The clinical, detached part of her mind battled with what her heart felt witnessing the undeniable bond between the two dogs. It was a bond that spoke of a profound reliance on each other for more than just physical comfort, for emotional survival. How could she, in good conscience, sever such a connection? Emily knew then that their bond might just be the key. not only to their emotional well-being, but perhaps even to their physical health. The thought was unconventional, yet it was supported by every fibre of her being that screamed that there was something special about the way Sam and Max relied on each other. With a renewed sense of purpose, she turned away from the kennel, determined to explore every possible option before making a final decision. The fate of Sam and Max was not yet sealed, and if their bond could indeed impact their future, Emily was going to find out just how. Fueled by a growing resolve, Emily returned to her office to gather the necessary tools, her steps quickening with each passing moment. As she prepared the syringes once again, her mind replayed the scenes of Sam and Max together, their bodies intertwined in silent comfort. The stark contrast between the sterile syringes and the warm, gentle embrace of the dogs sharpened the dread gnawing at her heart. She walked back to the kennel with the syringes hidden in her coat pocket, each step heavier than the last. Emily paused at the entrance, steeling herself to face the grim task at hand. As she entered, the soft rustling of Sam and Max's fur was like a whisper through the quiet room. The dogs looked up, their eyes meeting hers with an innocence and trust that pierced her soul. For a moment, Emily's resolve wavered, her hands trembling slightly as the reality of what she was about to do sank in. "Everything ready, Dr. Harding?" The nurse's voice broke through her thoughts, a lifeline thrown in the turbulent sea of her emotions. Emily glanced at the nurse, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, but let's just give me a moment, please." Her eyes returned to Sam and Max, watching as they sensed her turmoil and snuggled closer together. The sight of their closeness, their unspoken understanding of each other, filled Emily with an overwhelming sadness and a fierce protectiveness. Standing there, the syringes felt unbearably heavy in her pocket. The usual clinical detachment that guided her through these procedures felt wrong this time. These weren't just any animals, they were Sam and Max, two beings who had found solace in each other against all odds. Her duty as a veterinarian was to save lives, but was she really saving them by ending their pain in such a permanent way? As Emily knelt beside them, her professional mask began to crack, revealing the emotional turmoil underneath. She reached out a hand, gently stroking their fur. Sam's tail wagged weakly, his eyes locking onto hers with a depth of understanding that took her breath away. Max, feeling the change in Sam's mood, shifted closer, pressing his body against his friend. The room was silent except for the soft breathing of the dogs and the distant sounds of the shelter. It was in this quiet moment, with her hand resting on the dogs, that Emily noticed something extraordinary. Max's breathing, usually laboured and raspy due to his condition, seemed steadier, almost normal. Confused, Emily looked closer, her mind racing to make sense of what she was witnessing. Could it be? She muttered to herself, her eyes widening with realisation. Could the mere presence of Sam be influencing Max's condition? It was a far-fetched idea, yet the evidence was right in front of her, breathing quietly between the two snuggled forms. This unexpected observation halted her in her tracks. Suddenly, the answer to whether she could go through with the euthanasia wasn't so clear. Something extraordinary was happening here, something that deserved a deeper look. Emily stood up, her decision made. "I need to run some tests before we do anything final," she announced to the nurse, her voice firm with newfound determination. "Prepare the examination room. We're not giving up on them yet." As she led Sam and Max out of the kennel, her heart felt lighter, fueled by the hope that perhaps, just perhaps, there was another way to save these two souls who had already saved each other. In the examination room, Emily worked with a precision driven by the flicker of hope ignited in the kennel. With gentle hands, she separated Max from Sam, placing them a short distance apart to better observe their behaviours independently. The change was immediate and unmistakable. Max's breathing grew laboured, his eyes filled with an anxiety that was absent when nestled beside Sam. Emily's brow furrowed as she documented every minute detail of Max's deteriorating condition when away from his companion. "Sam, come here," she called softly. Obediently, Sam padded over and settled next to Max. Almost like a switch had been flipped, Max's breathing evened out, his body relaxed, and a visible calm descended over him. "This is remarkable," Emily murmured, her mind racing with the implications of her observations. She quickly set up a video camera to record these interactions, knowing that this evidence might be crucial for understanding the phenomenon she was witnessing. As she watched the two dogs, a theory began to form. Could Sam's presence be providing a type of emotional support that was manifesting physically in Max? Her thoughts were interrupted by Dr. Jensen, her colleague, who entered the room after reviewing the initial notes she had hastily scribbled. "Emily, I've never seen anything like this. Are you suggesting some sort of psychosomatic response?" "It's the only thing that makes sense right now," Emily replied, showing him the video footage. The two vets watched as Max struggled when alone and then stabilized with Sam by his side. "See here? It's as if he's like a living, breathing, calming agent for Max." Dr. Jensen nodded slowly, his skepticism melting into intrigue. "This could be an incredible discovery, Emily. Emotional support animals are recognized for their role in aiding humans, but this mutual support between animals could be groundbreaking." Encouraged by his support, Emily's mind buzzed with possibilities. "I want to conduct a formal study, document everything. If we can prove that emotional bonds can influence physical health in animals like this, we could change how we manage similar cases." Dr. Jensen agreed, his curiosity piqued. "Let's draft a research proposal. We'll need to observe them over a few days, collect data on their vital signs, their behaviours. If what you're suggesting holds true, we might just be on the edge of a new frontier in veterinary care." Emily felt a surge of excitement, her earlier despair replaced by the thrill of scientific discovery and the hope of saving not just Sam and Max, but potentially many other animals in similar situations. She set up a detailed observation schedule, arranging for round-the-clock monitoring and recording of the dog's interactions and conditions. As the days passed, the evidence grew only stronger. Max's health improved visibly, his energy returning when with Sam. The shelter staff, briefed on the study, watched in amazement as the two dogs, once listless and on the brink of death, played and interacted with a vigour that seemed miraculous. "This could change everything," Emily whispered to herself as she compiled the data, her heart swelling with pride and hope. Sam and Max had shown her something incredible. Sometimes, the key to healing was not just in medicine, but in the power of connection and emotional support. Fueled by this realization, she prepared to share their story with the world, ready to advocate for a shift in how they cared for all animals in the shelter. The potential to save more lives with this knowledge was immense, and Emily was determined to see it through. Continuing their meticulous documentation, Emily and Dr. Jensen expanded their study to include various stress tests and control situations to further isolate the effect of Sam's presence on Max's health. They carefully monitored Max's responses in different environments. One where he was alone, another with other dogs, and one with Sam. Each test seemed to confirm the initial observations. Max's condition consistently improved when he was with Sam. His anxiety levels decreased and his physical symptoms lessened, showcasing a significant and repeatable outcome that was hard to dismiss. Emily spent long hours into the night, poring over veterinary research and consulting with animal behaviourists. She was building a compelling case, gathering existing literature that hinted at similar phenomena, though none as clear-cut as what she observed with Sam and Max. Her office became cluttered with journals, articles, and her own burgeoning notes that painted a picture of what she hoped would be a breakthrough in veterinary care. Armed with graphs and video evidence, Emily presented her findings to the shelter board. The room was filled with curious and skeptical faces as she began. "Ladies and gentlemen, what we have observed in Sam and Max is not just a curiosity. It's a potentially groundbreaking insight into how we treat animals experiencing severe stress and health issues," she explained, clicking through slides that captured the dog's interactions and the visible effects on Max's health. The board listened intently, their initial skepticism slowly melting away as the evidence unfolded. So you're suggesting that the presence of a bonded partner can have measurable health benefits? One of the board members, Mr. Harper, asked, adjusting his glasses as he leaned forward. Yes, exactly, Emily confirmed. Our tests show that Max's symptoms improve dramatically when he's with Sam. It's consistent, reproducible, and frankly, quite remarkable. I believe we need to consider bond-based therapy as part of our treatment protocols. Another board member, Dr. Lin, who had a background in animal behaviour, nodded thoughtfully. This could be an innovative approach to animal welfare. I suggest we consider a pilot program based on your research. If we can verify these results in other cases, it could significantly change how we manage care in shelters. The board agreed to fund a pilot program, intrigued by the prospect of placing animals with known bonds in joint recovery programs. Emily was tasked with leading this new initiative, her study providing the foundational data that would shape the experiment. As the research moved forward, Emily established a detailed protocol for evaluating which animals might benefit most from this kind of emotional support. The shelter's staff were trained to observe and note any signs of bonding between animals, and those pairs were given special attention to determine if their bonds could help alleviate medical or behavioural issues. The results from these further tests were encouraging. Animals placed in the program showed faster recovery rates, reduced symptoms of stress, and overall better outcomes than those treated individually. The findings weren't just improving lives, they were saving them. Emily's research into the bond between Sam and Max had opened a new chapter in animal care, one that recognised the deep emotional connections between animals as a vital part of their health and well-being. As she prepared her findings for submission to a respected veterinary journal, Emily felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Her belief in the power of connection had led to a potential revolution in how they cared for the most vulnerable creatures, proving once again that sometimes the most effective medicine might just be the company one keeps. As weeks turned into months, the shelter began to see the tangible benefits of Emily's bond-based therapy program. Sam and Max were the poster children of this new approach, thriving under the combined care of medical treatment and their inseparable companionship. Each day brought small victories. Max's coat grew glossier, his eyes brighter, and his energy levels surged. Sam too seemed rejuvenated, his demeanour more playful and engaged. The shelter staff, initially sceptical, now watched in awe as the two dogs transformed. The shelter's daily routine adapted to incorporate and support these findings. Cages were rearranged to allow bonded pairs to stay together. Staff members were trained to recognise and nurture potential bonds early in animals' intake process, ensuring that emotional support became a cornerstone of care alongside medical attention. This shift not only improved the animals' health outcomes, but also enhanced the overall atmosphere of the shelter. There was a newfound sense of purpose and optimism among the team. Emily kept detailed records of every improvement and setback, compiling data that painted a compelling picture of recovery driven by companionship. During her updates to the shelter board, she shared these successes with a mix of professional pride and personal passion. The bond between Sam and Max has not only saved their lives, but has set a precedent we cannot ignore, she told the board in one of her regular updates. We are seeing faster recoveries, fewer signs of depression, and more successful adoptions with our bonded pairs. Mr. Harper, always one with an eye for numbers, responded with enthusiasm during one such meeting. Dr. Harding, your program is showing results that exceed some of our traditional treatments. What can we do to support this initiative further? We need to consider this model for all our shelters nationwide, Emily suggested. Imagine the impact on euthanasia rates and overall animal welfare. With additional funding, we could expand our facilities to better accommodate bonded pairs and increase staff training on emotional animal care. The board agreed unanimously. Funding was allocated to expand the program, and news of their success began to ripple through the veterinary community. other shelters started to reach out, eager to learn about the process and implement similar strategies. Emily found herself at the forefront of a movement that was reshaping how shelters operated across the country. Back at the shelter, Sam and Max continued to thrive. Their story, featured in the shelter's newsletter and on social media, garnered attention from animal lovers worldwide. Donations poured in, spurred by the touching narrative of their recovery and the revolutionary care they had received. The shelter capitalised on this wave of support, hosting open houses and adoption events that highlighted the success of the bond-based therapy program. As Emily observed Sam and Max play in the yard, their tails wagging furiously, she reflected on the journey that had brought them all to this point. The bond-based therapy had started as a desperate attempt to save 2 lives, but had grown into a philosophy that could save many more. She felt a deep sense of satisfaction knowing that her refusal to accept the status quo had led to such profound changes, not only for Sam and Max, but for countless other animals who would now have a chance at a better life. The future looked hopeful, and as she watched the 2 dogs, now healthy and happy, Emily knew that this was just the beginning. The impact of Sam and Max's story was magnified exponentially as it took to the digital world. Emily, alongside the shelter's media team, crafted posts that detailed their journey, from the brink of euthanasia to symbols of hope and recovery. Each update shared on social media was met with an outpouring of likes, shares and comments, each ping on her phone a testament to the growing support for their cause. Videos of Sam and Max playing, eating and simply snuggling together circulated widely, capturing the hearts of viewers far beyond the local community. The narrative of their bond, coupled with the innovative care they received, resonated deeply with animal lovers and advocates for change in animal welfare practices. As the story gained traction, the shelter's inbox was flooded with messages from people inspired by the dogs. How can we help? What can we do to support more animals like Sam and Max? The messages read, each sender moved by the power of connection and community. Emily found herself coordinating with volunteers and donors, organising fundraisers that were now more successful than ever thanks to the high profile of their new furry celebrities. During one of the shelter's live Candor sessions, Emily discussed the bond-based therapy approach, answering questions from an engaged online audience. We've seen firsthand how emotional support can transform health outcomes, she explained, the comments section buzzing with positive feedback and curiosity. Our hope is to make this a standard practice not just here, but in shelters everywhere. The visibility brought by their viral story also piqued the interest of potential adopters. During an open house, a couple approached Emily, having driven several hours after seeing a post about Sam and Max. We've been following their story, and we feel like we already know them, they shared with Emily, their faces alight with excitement. We've got a big backyard and no shortage of love to give. We think we could be the family Sam and Max deserve. Emily's heart swelled with pride and a tinge of sadness at the thought of saying goodbye. But she knew this was the ultimate goal, for Sam and Max to find a forever home where they could continue to thrive together. She led the couple through the adoption process, each step meticulously carried out to ensure it was a perfect match. The successful adoption of Sam and Max was featured in another round of social media posts, which only fueled further interest and support for the shelter. Donations increased, volunteer applications doubled, and the community around the shelter grew stronger and more committed than ever. Reflecting on the incredible journey, Emily felt a profound connection to the broader mission she had helped catalyse. The response from the public had not only secured a happy ending for Sam and Max, but had also laid the groundwork for a sustainable change in how shelters cared for animals. The story of 2 dogs had evolved into a rallying cry for empathy, innovation, and a reminder of the impact one person's actions can have when driven by compassion and supported by a community. The day Sam and Max were scheduled to leave the shelter marked a new chapter in their lives. The couple who had fallen in love with them through social media arrived early, their excitement barely contained as they walked through the shelter doors. Emily greeted them with a mix of emotions, her professional smile masking the bittersweet feelings swirling within her. As they completed the final paperwork, Emily led the couple to Sam and Max, who seemed to sense the importance of the moment. With wagging tails and eager eyes, they greeted their new family, their behaviour a seamless blend of joy and a slight apprehension of the unknown. "We promise to give them a loving home," the adopters assured Emily, their voices sincere and warm. "And we'll keep everyone updated on their adventures. We know they have quite the fan base." "That would be wonderful," Emily responded, her voice thick with emotion. "They've been through so much, and it's incredible to see them starting this new journey with you." The staff gathered to bid farewell, each person taking a moment to pet Sam and Max, whispering final words of encouragement and love. As the dogs hopped into the back of the couple's car, equipped with new toys and blankets, Emily handed over the last item, a small photo album filled with pictures of Sam and Max from their time at the shelter. "Something to help you remember where their journey began," she said, handing the album to the couple. The drive away from the shelter was a quiet affair for Emily. Watching the car disappear down the road, she felt a profound sense of accomplishment and a pang of loss. The shelter was quieter without Sam and Max, their presence missed by both the staff and the other animals. In their new home, Sam and Max quickly adapted to their surroundings. Their new family was committed to their well-being, providing not just the comforts of a warm house, but the love and attention they needed to truly thrive. The couple regularly updated the shelter and their broader social media followers with tales of Sam and Max's integration into their new life, how they explored every nook of their new home, their first snowfall, and their adventures in the local park. Each update was a reminder of the impact of Emily's work and of the broader shift in the shelter's approach to animal care. These stories of new beginnings not only continued to inspire the online community, but also attracted more support for the shelter. The bond between Sam and Max remained as strong as ever, their companionship a constant source of joy for their family. They became local celebrities, their story a testament to the power of resilience and the profound impact of emotional bonds. As Emily watched their progress from afar, she knew that their story was just one of many success stories yet to be written. Energized by the success of the bond-based therapy program, she dedicated herself to expanding these practices, ensuring that more animals like Sam and Max would have the chance at a new beginning. Back at the shelter, the legacy of Sam and Max continued to inspire both the staff and the community, a legacy of hope, healing, and new beginnings that would live on far beyond the walls of Hope Animal Shelter.